Hey guys, sorry I'm a minute or so late. I was just finishing up prepping. Just want to welcome you guys today. Kind of a last minute thing. I've been doing a lot of creations and I want to try to get some of these tutorials out there for you. So today what we're going to do, as you can see behind me, is we're going to be making this cute little Santa suit. And this is actually made on the new modified board that I made for the shirt and the dresses that I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the overhead camera and we'll go through the board, we'll go through the mesh, the folds, and then we'll put our creation together. And I also want to show you the, I did a Mrs. Santa Claus apron to kind of coordinate and kind of go with this. So I'm going to do a second video today and show you guys that too. So you have a cute little Santa and Mrs. Claus pair. So let me switch to the overhead camera and we will start going through all of the supplies and all of that good stuff. Okay. All right. So as usual, here is a picture of my finished wreath there. And I'll also put, this is my sheet that I use, my little cheat sheet. Okay. And I just want to bring up this here. There we go. Okay. So that's my little cheat sheet there. All right. So the supplies we're going to be using today are, you're going to be using a red fabric mesh. Okay. And I put all of the supplies underneath the description with the numbers from Unique in the Creek. So you guys should have all of those. Okay. We're going to be using a deluxe foil red, which is this here. Okay. We're going to be using black horizontal wide stripe. We're going to be using a gold, which is going to be for our belt buckle. And we're going to be using, I got these mop pads from Dollar Tree. So that's going to kind of be our Santa fluff there. And then also I have red bling rope, which I think I left over here for Mrs. Claus. So let me grab that for you. And this is going to go around our hanger. Okay. And this is also from Unique in the Creek. Okay. All right. So away we go. So here is the new shirt board here. Okay. And what we're going to be doing is placing zip ties. Okay. We'll do that, kind of show you that first. So if you need to take a screenshot or whatnot, you could take a screenshot of it. So basically we're going to be doing all of the outside zip ties, okay, all the holes. So we're going to be doing zip ties on all the outer, right and left. And then on the second row up, which is actually row 9, we're going to be putting a zip tie in the outer, both outers here. We're going to be doing, skipping those sets of holes. We're going to be doing zip tie here, in the middle, and here. And then we're going to go up to the next row and we're going to do all the outers again here. And we're going to put those 3 in the middle. We're going to go up to the next row. And then we're going to be putting our outer, we're skipping that one again. We're putting our 3, we're skipping and putting outer. The next 2 rows, you're going to have your, just your outers, okay, from top to bottom there. And we're going to be at the next row up here. You're going to do your outers. You're going to do the first set of holes here. You're going to skip. You're going to do your middle. You're going to skip. And then you're going to do here. Okay, so this row here, which is row 6, has nothing going across. Okay. And then basically we're following this same pattern. We're following that all the way up. So we're going to have zip ties in our outer holes to the outside of the board. We're going to be filling in the first 2 sets of holes on each side and a middle hole. We're going to do the same thing up here. And then we're doing basically the same thing on the top. Okay. And I can also put a sheet, if you need me to, on my Facebook page with the placement of the zip ties, because I know it can be a little overwhelming. And I am just going to, eyes don't want to work today, so I'm just going to bring my screen up a little bit. All right. So that's basically what our board is going to look like. Okay. A little bit more light there. Okay. So I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to show you a couple of the folds that we're going to be doing today. So the first fold we're going to do is, I just call it, like I said, a squared hole, because it's just squared petal, because it's just how I remember it, but it's not really the name of it. You're going to cut your mesh 10 by 10 into a square. Okay. You're going to take your top point and bring it to your middle. You're going to take your bottom point, bring that to the middle. You're going to fold your bottom up back to the middle again, and your top down to the middle again. So that's what it's going to look like. Then all you're going to do is you're going to flip it over, okay, and then turn it around. And I put mine on my mat so I know that my petals are kind of the same length, and I want to make these 4-inch petals, okay. So I just kind of take that, and I just take a little zip tie, or you could use an elastic. I like to use the zip ties because I find that they just stay a little bit better on the boards. So you're just going to zip tie it and take that off. And we don't need this extra piece on the end, so we're just going to cut that off. Okay. And that is the majority of the petals that we're going to be doing are going to be exactly like that. Okay. So now we're going to do, for the upper sleeve part, I wanted to make the sleeves a little bit longer. On one of my first designs, I was playing around with it, and I realized that I really should make the sleeves a little bit longer to make it look like a shirt more. So what I did is I took my red fabric, okay, and I cut it 10 by 12. Okay, so I did 12 inches. Your factory seamed edges are going to be on the top and the bottom for this, okay? And what you're going to do is take your bottom and you're going to fold it up just a couple, about 2.5 inches here, okay? And then you're going to take the top and you're going to fold that down. And then how I measure the width on this is I bring it down, and I want about a 4-inch sleeve, okay? So I just kind of look at my mat and line it up. And then all I'm doing is just flipping it over in the middle, over right on itself, okay? And I'm going to turn it again. And again, I want to make this one a little bit longer, so I'm going to make this a 5-inch petal. So I put it on my 10. At 15, all I'm going to do is start scrunching it, okay? So it's going to scrunch like that. And I'm also going to put a zip tie on the bottom here, okay, just like that. And then I'm just going to cut this little excess off because we don't need that. Like that. Okay. So we're going to be making 6 of these. So these are going to be for our sleeves. So we're going to do 6 of those. Now for the belt. Okay. So we have these that we talked about. And I'll go through as we're doing them. I'll give you how many of each that you have to, you know, that you're going to have to do for this project. Now we're going to look at the belt. Belt, the first petal that we're going to do is the same exact as that square one that we do. Okay, so we're just kind of top to bottom. We're folding the bottom up and the top down, and then we're flipping it over. Okay, so that's the first part of the belt. And you're going to need 2 of these. Okay, so we're going to do 2 just like this. Okay, just like that. And again, you just cut this little excess off because we don't need it. So you're going to do 2 like that. And now we're going to do something similar, but this time we're not going to fold it over. All right, so we're going to take top to the middle, bottom to the middle, and we're going to fold it up again like we did and fold it down like we did. But this time we're not folding it over. All we're going to do is go to the ends here and we're going to scrunch it, okay? And we're going to put a little zip tie in there. And we're doing it this way so that when we put it on the board, we can actually wrap it around to the back of the board to create the belt going around the Santa suit, okay? And then you just cut that little excess off. And then again, you just kind of give it a little pull. So we're going to go right where you can kind of see where you would scrunch. And then you're going to put another little zip tie there. And again. And then we're going to cut this. All right. So then that's what you're going to have. So you're going to have 2 of these, okay? And then what, like I said, this is going to wrap around the board. So it's actually going to look like the belt goes around the actual waist. Okay, so 2 of these and 2 of these. All right, I'm just going to put those aside for the moment. All right. Then what we have is, if you go to the Dollar Tree or have a Dollar Tree or, you know, Walmart, craft store, wherever, you're going to get these mop pads. But you can use anything that you normally would use for, you know, your Santa fluff. I know they make, I think they even make like a ribbon type thing now for it. But it's just a mop pad. And then what I do is I cut it. All right, so I cut it right up the middle, but I don't cut it all the way through. Okay, so this way what I can do is just kind of put it together and zip tie it so I have one full piece. Gonna warn you, it is very messy. So when I do cut the middle, I basically take it and I just shake it out, okay? And then this is gonna be, I cut another little piece. All right, this is going to be for up in the neck area. So this didn't have to be as thick. So what I did is I cut just like a quarter of it. Okay. And like I said, these are just mop pads that you can get Dollar Tree or, you know, wherever. So basically those are our supplies. Okay. So we have red fabric mesh. We have red deluxe foil mesh. We have white horizontal. We have black horizontal, and then we have our fluff and our bling rope. Okay, here's our bling rope. All right. So let's get started putting our petals on. Let's see, I'm just saying hi. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Denise. Yeah, I just started. And actually what I'm going to be doing is after this video, just taking a little bit of a break. And then I'm actually going to show you guys the Mrs. Claus apron that kind of coordinates with this one. So when I design the dress boards and the shirt boards, I'm trying to come up with patterns that kind of go like boy and girlish. So you'll see I have coming out, I have an elf. So I have a little girl elf with the dress, and then the dress, the elf suit. I have gingerbread man coming out. I have, which other ones do I have? Oh, I have elf on the shelf. So those will be coming out, and I'll do tutorials for those as well. All right, so here is our board. And again, this is what the back looks like. If you want to do a little screenshot, here is my little cheat sheet. Okay. And what I do is I just number where all my petals go. All right, so I'm going to leave that there. So our first set is going to be, we're going to do our red fabric. And what I did is basically all of my outer ones that are going to be going facing outward, I did my red fabric. All the ones that are going to be going down, I did the sparkly for the front of the Santa suit. All right, so we're going to start on this bottom left here, okay? We're going to put a red fabric. and we're going to put a white horizontal wide stripe in here. So one is going to go out and one's kind of angled downward a little bit. Okay. And I hope I don't mess this up. I've only made this once and then basically set up the design. So if I go a little bit slow, I apologize. Going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So this is the row between 10 and 9. We're going to use that outer here. And we're going to put our red up top and then our white. Okay, so the white kind of angles down. The red is pretty horizontal here. Okay, and I don't mind my fumbling fingers, my arthritis. It's going to rain here in Connecticut, and my arthritis is acting up today. Okay, so that's that. The next one we're going to do is we're going to go up to row 9, okay? And we're going to take one of our deluxe foil, and that's that same fold that we did with the red fabric. It's just we did it in the foil. And then I'm just going to turn my board to the side a little bit because when I do these, I like to make sure they're kind of even. So I kind of do it this way. So you're just putting it in that outer, right like that. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so you're using that outer one. And your foil, your deluxe foil is going to go in there. And this is where I said I kind of just try to line them up as best as I can. And then just pull your zip tie there. So that's what we have so far. Okay. Just like that. The next one we're going to do is we're going to put another foil here and another foil here. And then we're going to be putting a white one in the middle. Okay. So I'm going to take another one of my foil. And it's fine just to overlap it to make sure that it's even. When we adjust everything at the very end, we'll put some mesh. We'll kind of push it together like that, but we don't have to worry about that at the moment. And then we're going to go to the other side. And again, I just try to line them up. And then we're going to put a white one in the middle. And I use different types of mesh. If anybody knows me, I just like to create different textures with stuff. You don't have to do that. If you have, you know, just all fabric mesh, all horizontal, you know, use and create with what you have. Okay. So this is what I was talking about. So what I'm doing is just kind of moving these. My white ones, I'm just kind of feeding those middle red ones into that. Okay. Just like that. And that kind of just kind of gives it a little bit of a curvature. Okay, so the white is over top of these. So the red ones kind of feed into that. And then with these outer ones, I'm feeding these outer ones into the other red foil. Okay. And now I'm going to just go up to the next row. So we're always going to start with these outer ones, the fabric that are going to face out. Okay, so now we're going to get our fabric mesh again. And what I do for this is I turn my board upside down because when I put these in, I want them more towards the top here, okay? Because if they're too low, then they just kind of overlap, and I want them to kind of set together like this. So I just turn my board upside down, and I push this all the way towards the top, okay? And then I just pull it. And then I feel like it stays more towards the top if I do it that way. And then we're going to do the same on the other side here. Okay. And again, just kind of lining it up. And then we're going to pull. And they don't have to be perfect. I just try to line them up the best that I can. Just like that. Okay. And now I'm going to turn it to the side again. So this is what we have so far here. Okay. And we're going to be doing now the foil again that's coming down. And once you do it a few times, you notice the pattern, it gets a little bit easier to do. And let me just go back to this real quick. Just want to see. I'm trying to read the questions. Let's see, what do we have here? Cindy, the board I'm using, this is a new board that I actually designed. It's a Unique in the Creek board, but it's my modified version of it. So basically, I had bought the boards from Lori, and I had modified them to fit my designs. So you can only get the boards through me on my website because they are a modified board. They're not the original designs that Lori had made. Okay. And I worked with Lori, picked her brain, asked her tons of questions, and she is totally on board with this. And she's happy to help me promote the board. It's just that she doesn't sell them because it's not her original. It is a modified version. Okay. No, Patricia, I can put templates in. If you buy a board, I can either put templates in with them, or I can put templates up on my website so that you have them. Because I would love for people to use them and even create your own designs with them and then show them off to other people. All right. So let's get back. So we're going to be doing our foil coming down again. So I'm going to turn it to the side. We're on row 8. So the nice thing is all the rows are still numbered. Okay. So we're going to turn this here. And this is the one that's from the outer to that first hole. Okay. So we're going to put that one in. And then we're going to go to the other side and put our outers. I usually go left to right, left to right. So whatever I did on the left, I go and do on the right, just so that I don't forget to do anything. But you don't have to do it in that method. It's just easier for me to remember where things are supposed to go. We're going to do another foil. Okay, so it's going to go right next to this one. And I just kind of push that one out a little bit, so it's a little on an angle. Line them up, and then just pull again. And then we're going to go to that right side, those next set of holes that are in there. So you're basically going to be having 2 foils on each side, and then you're going to be having a white in the middle. Okay. And then we're going to put our white in here. And again, this white, we're going to end up, once we put it on here, we're going to be feeding those center 2 foil ones into it. And that just helps to give it that central look, like it's coming down the front of his body. And then the same thing over here, we're just tucking in those outer ones, we're tucking into those. Okay, just like that. Okay, we're going to repeat that same pattern. We're going to go and we're going to do these outer ones with our fabric mesh. Okay, and again, I turn this upside down just so that I can line these up a little bit easier. When you put these in, you're going to have it more towards you, towards the top of where the holes are. Okay, and I just kind of start it just like that, and then just pull. Okay, and now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just like this. I have been having so much fun, you guys, creating with these boards. My original design was a dress design I did. It was a wedding dress and these little girl dresses. And I had used other forms to create them and combined multiple different forms. And it just got to be a hassle because I couldn't find some of the pieces that I would need. And then I figured out how I could modify one of Lori's boards, and it just kind of went from there. I have a manufacturer for me that cuts the boards down for me so they're nice and professional, nice smooth edges, has an integrated hanger that we can bling out. I'm just really, really proud and excited for these boards. And I am like so grateful for all of Lori's help and support through all of this. So now I'm just, like I said, getting excited to just create a bunch of different stuff. But I kind of get so caught up in the creation and the design of it, I'm forgetting to do tutorials. So I'm going to kind of just keep trying to pop these out for you guys as I do them. All right, so now we're back to the foil. Okay, so our fabrics are the ones going out, our foil's going down. So we're going to put our side one in, and I'm going to come to the other side. So we are on row 7 right now. Okay, I'm going to put this one in here. And I just kind of clip the zip ties as I go because there's so many, it gets a little confusing. And then we're going to put our next one in next to it here. And then another foil one over here. Okay, and now we're going to put just like that. And now we're going to put a white one in here. So this is going to be a little tricky because now we're going to be, once I put this white one in, we're actually going to be starting the belt. So I'll have to probably show you on the back of it because it'll be easier to see. Okay. All right. So for the belt, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to actually be putting in these red ones first. Okay. So we're going to put our 2 side red ones in. Okay. These are our fabric ones. Just like that. And then I'm going to put my other one in over here. All right. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a couple more zip ties. So we're going to be putting, okay, where we already put on here with where our foil one is, we're going to put another zip tie through those holes, okay? Just like this. Just gonna make sure I always put it the right way. And you can move these aside to be able to see it, okay? And then I'm just going to start it just a little bit. So this is what we're going to take our first open one, okay? And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to feed this into the back underneath the zip tie first. So what I do is I just kind of turn one of the zip ties around so that it's facing away from the board so it catches on the zip tie. So I'm just kind of tucking it underneath there, just like that, okay? And then I'm going to flip it over so it'll stay. And they're just basically going to take this part, and now we're just kind of flipping it over, and we're going to feed it into the zip tie that we just put in, okay? Just like that. So we're going to feed it in. So you see how it kind of, it comes around and kind of covers in between these two. And then we're going to pull that tight, okay? Then what we're going to do is take another of our black ones. This is the one that's closed, okay? And this is going to go, we're going to put another set of zip ties, which I already put in, these ones here more towards the center, okay? So we're skipping a hole, and then we're going to be putting this zip tie here. So basically what we're going to do, and it gets a little harder because everything's already squeezed in here. And then when your fingers don't want to work, it makes it a little bit harder too. All right. So basically, and you can move these out of the way here. So we're going to put that in there and then just kind of scrunch that white one back down. And just like that. So it's going to kind of set up like that, line up with that one. And again, we're just going to pull that one tight. Okay, so that's one side of our belt here. And like I said, we can adjust this again once we get our belt in. So now we're going to do the other side. Okay, so again, we're going to be putting zip ties. So 1, 2, the third row up here, we're putting another zip tie into those holes. Okay, and these are those outer ones. And you can kind of, it's nice, you can kind of move these out of the way and you can see where that hole is in there. And then let's bring this up, just like that. And again, I just do it just a smidge, just to, so that doesn't pull out on me. And again, you're going to have it where your seams are, those are facing downward. Okay. Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm going to kind of squeeze that in there. And I just kind of hold it when I flip it. Okay. And then we're going to do the same exact thing. We're taking it, and I'm just turning these little zip ties around so they'll catch on the other zip tie. And we're just going to kind of push this down in here. Depending on how much you pull the zip tie, you just have to kind of really try to squeeze it in there sometimes. Okay. There we go. And then we're going to do the other one. Okay. And this is, again, now we're doing this set here. Okay. And I already put them in there because it's just easier to have them in there already. So I'm just going to kind of slide this underneath here. Unfortunately, I pulled that one a little bit too tight when I put it in. There we go. I'm just pushing that white one back down. There we go. It's caught up on the other one. Come on. There we go. Pulled it a little too tight, so it was a little harder to get in there. Okay. So there's our belt. Okay. And again, these just kind of, we can squish these back in. Like that. Okay, now we're going to do our belt buckle. Okay. And now for this one, we're going to put a zip tie, okay, over the existing zip tie that we did for that middle white one. Okay, so right here, we are going to be putting a zip tie in here. And then for this one, we're not going to just put it down like this. We're actually going to start it up like this. Okay. And then just tighten that. And then what I've done is I take a pipe cleaner, okay, and more towards the top part of this in the middle, I'm going to feed my pipe cleaner through, okay. And it's going to come through underneath and out, both sets of sides of the pipe cleaner. This is so that when we flip it down, we can hold it in place. And because I doubled up on this mesh, so when you do the gold, I actually cut it at 20 inches, because then what I do is I double it over just to kind of give it a thicker buckle look here. I'm just trying to get this through because you have to kind of find the little holes here to be able to poke it through. And sometimes it goes easy and sometimes not so much. And then when your hands don't work, that doesn't help either. All right, let's get you through here. I'm just trying to wiggle the point. Wiggle it through. There we go. Just kind of give it a little bit of a wiggle there. All right. Because it kind of gets caught on it too. So it's like, all right. So we have our pipe cleaners that come through. So basically we're going to feed these pipe cleaners back down the existing holes that we just put the zip ties in for this. Okay. And it gets a little tight in there because we have several zip ties in there at this point. Okay. So that's going to come through those two holes. And then basically we're folding this over. Just pull on your zip ties there. And just kind of hold it down. And you're going to pull those zip ties really tight. Okay. And then, not zip ties, pipe cleaner, sorry. And then you're just going to wrap them around the back here. And then we're just going to cut those. And you can kind of shove them right back down in one of those little holes to keep your board nice and looking nice and clean in the back. Okay. And then you can kind of adjust this a little bit. Okay. And there is your belt and your belt buckle. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to exactly what we were doing. We're going to start our pattern up again. And we're going to be starting. That came out. So we are on row 6 and 5. Okay, so those in between 6 and 5, we're going to take our red fabric mesh again. And we're going to put that in there. Again, just kind of line it up more towards the top. That's why I kind of do it the board upside down. And then we're going to do on the other side here. So this is between 6 and 5. And again, just do that. So on row 6 across, we have nothing. Okay, so we're going to actually be starting our foils on row 5. Okay, and this is because we want these to kind of lay a little bit flatter down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking this corner and just kind of feeding it into that first loop of the belt buckle there. And that's going to kind of give me an idea of what length I need. So it kind of shortens it up a little bit for us here. Okay, just like that. So that little corner on that red's going right into that corner on the belt. Okay, and it's just a little bit. You want it in there just a little bit. Just like that. Okay, and now again, we're going to do the one right next to it. We're adding our foil. And I'm pulling it up and making it a little shorter because what I want to do is kind of have it sitting right up against this, okay, where it's kind of tucked underneath a little bit. So you can see you'll have like extra here, but that's okay. So just wherever that fits in for you, that's where you want it. And we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side. Hold on here. My zip ties got all tangled, so I'm just cutting this one out and re-putting another one in. The problem when you preload the board, sometimes you end up catching the wrong zip tie, which is what I did. All right, so then this is going to go down in here. And again, same type of thing. We're kind of bringing it further up into it so that it kind of tucks right down in here like that. Okay, so it's kind of tucking up against it. And then you're going to pull it. And then we're going to put our white one in the middle. And again, we're going to kind of pull it up, but we do want it to just kind of set right at the top of where our belt buckle is, because we want to kind of push that belt buckle up a little bit. Okay. So that's what we're looking for. So now we're going to be starting this sleeve portion. So these are where it's going to be a little bit longer up here. Okay, same type of pattern, it's just these are going to be a little bit longer sleeves. Okay, so we're going to start on this left side over here. And I'm going to take one of my sleeves. And that's just going to kind of go right in here. And this is the fabric mesh. And then I'm going to put another one in on this side. Okay. So yeah, those are a little bit longer, but that's okay because it just kind of gives it a more proportioned look. And now we're going to start again with our foils coming down. So I'm going to turn this upside down again. Okay, so this outer, the one that goes from that last hole to the outer is what we're doing first. And this one, you could put these right kind of next to each other if you want. So you have that foil, you're going to put your other foil right next to it and just kind of line them up. Just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side here. So we're going to put, this is going to be that outer hole to the outer of the board, outside of that board. And it's kind of like on a little angle. You're kind of following the angle of the board here. And then we're going to do one that's going down. And again, just line these up. They should kind of fit nicely right into each other. And then we're going to put a white one in the middle again. Get rid of all these zip ties. Okay, turn it this way. So again, we're going to take that white and we're going to put those inner red ones, we're going to kind of tuck those into there. And we're just kind of tucking them in. Just like that. Okay. So for the next one, what we're going to do, we're not going to do the sleeve right next to it. We're actually going to go up to this top. So the very top, and I know it's hard to see with all these zip ties. So we're not doing this one just yet. We're doing this set up here because we want this one to lay on top of it. Okay. So we're going to do this top sleeve up here. So we're just going to put that in. And again, just try to line it up the best you can. And again, move these up to the top part of your zip tie. And then we're going to do the same. So we're going to take the sleeve. I'm going to do this upper sleeve here. And you could put zip ties in as you go and then not have all this craziness. Whatever's easier for you. I have my cheat sheet, so I generally just kind of put all the zip ties in. But whatever, you know, whatever's easier for you to be able to follow it. Okay. So now what we're going to do is go back and now we're going to put that middle sleeve in. Okay. This stuff. So now this middle sleeve is going to go over top of those other two sleeves. Okay. And again, I feel like a broken record, but line them up as best as you can. That. And then we're going to do the same with this one. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go back to do the foils again, going down. So we have our outer one here. So these ones, when we're doing these up top, these are, you're still going to be doing these outer ones to the holes. So you just got to kind of get down in there and get those. Okay, so we're doing that one. Then we're going to do one right next to it. And again, line them up. You guys are going to be hearing that in your sleep. Line them up. And then we're going to Do the same on this side. And these first ones, like I said, have a little bit of an angle coming outward. They're not straight down. And then you have that one that goes straight down. And then it kind of lines up. And then we're going to put our white one in here. And again, we're just going to kind of feed that in. But just by doing it, you don't have to feed them in. It just kind of gives it a more curved look. But you don't have to do that. Okay. So I'm going to do the same up here. We're going to put our outer ones in first. And then we're doing our inners. And then we're going to go to this side, do the same thing. Okay, let's do this. Now what we're going to do, looking like a Santa. Now we're going to add our little fluffy collar here. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put my bling rope on here first. I find it's just much easier to be able to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm adding some zip ties, okay, through these holes here. Okay, so not the middle, the one on either side of it. So I'm just adding a zip tie. And this is just for the bling rope. It kind of holds it in place. All right, so now what I do with the bling rope is I'm going to cut a piece of the bling rope, okay, about 12 inches. And this is going to allow us to do a double on the hanger part. So about 12 inches. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of glue right where that zip tie is and just up that one side for the moment. And we're going to stick that in there. And this is going to be more on the outer part of the hanger part because we're going to run another one in the inner part. We're just going to kind of let that set for a second. And then we're going to run some hot glue down this outer part of the hanger into that. And then what I do is I feed this kind of through here and give it a turn and then feed it back up through so that it gives me my little curve here. All right, just like that. You're just going to kind of push that down. And you want it so that it's underneath the zip tie so that you can pull the zip tie tight to keep it in place. Just like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add some more glue to the inside now. And this is going to hold the inners here. Just like that. And then I take a little clip just to kind of help hold everything in place until that glue completely sets. Just like that. And then what I'm going to do is pull this other zip tie here. I'm going to tighten that one. And then I'm going to put my clip there as well. And you could put several clips just to kind of hold it in place. The nice thing, the bling rope here, it really, you can kind of move it to wherever you want to move it to. And just for that to set for a minute. So while that's setting, we're going to come down to the bottom. All right. So yeah, I tried it, Cindy. I try to explain it and do it step by step. I know some people it's too slow. It's just, it looks complicated, but if we do follow it step by step, it does, it's not as hard as it looks. So what I did for this is you're going to take it, and the reason why I put these white ones here is I basically tucked this underneath, okay, right over top of that white one there. Okay. So you're just kind of feeding that in like that. We're going to have extra, but we're going to flip that around the back. So just set this right over here. And then what we can do is we're going to actually zip tie this. And we're going to zip tie it to this white one. This is where it's just a little tricky because you do have to put some holes in this, and it can be a little hard. So basically I just take the point of my scissors and I'm just trying to put a little hole through here. So I'm going to put 2 holes right next to each other. And then I'm going to put a zip tie. I'm going to go down the first hole, if I can find it. It's always the hardest part. There we go. Okay, so I'm putting the zip tie through that, and I'm going to run it right through this white mesh here. Okay. And then it's going to come back up through, if I can find this other hole here. I'm going to put my glasses on. Okay, so I made 2 holes to start with. Sometimes if you can't find that second hole, you may just have to make another one. I've done that several times where I just had to make another one, but I didn't that time. All right, so then you're just going to zip tie this. You won't see the zip tie because it's so fluffy. You will not see it at all. Okay, so you're just going to pull that. So there's our zip tie there. We're going to do the same exact thing on this side. And you don't want to pull it too tight because you want this part to kind of, you know, hang down a little bit. So we're going to do that. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to poke a couple holes here. The fur I got, actually, they're mop pads, Cindy, from Dollar Tree. That's all they are mop pads. Put this one down in here. But I know they make, I've seen it where they, you know, they have the fake fur or whatnot in like a ribbon roll that you can use. I just find this is just a little bit, I wouldn't say a little bit, a lot cheaper to do it this way. And then it's just a little bit messy because you have to, you cut it and then it's like, this is the only part that's hard. Like, it does not want to go through. There we go. Come on. Figure scissors would be pointy enough to get through this, but obviously not. Like I said, then it's just finding the hole once you do it through all this fur. Come on. Clip the back of this open here. This is probably the hardest part, guys, right here. All right, there's that. I got one more hole to do here. Lord help us. Oh, that one went easier. Okay, and then we're going to put through the white fabric, or white horizontal here. We're going to put that zip tie through there. And then we're going to come back up through the fur. Just like that. All right, and we're going to zip tie that. So I'm just going to kind of tuck this underneath like that. Our zip ties. And then let's connect this on the back here. So we're going to turn this over. And then we're going to do the same thing. Okay. We're just going to zip tie to this center one. And we're going to zip tie these to here. You could probably, if you wanted to use a little glue, you could probably put a little glue there too. You know, either or, whatever your preference is. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I think I'm just going to cut little holes. I think that might be much easier. And then I'm going to just connect this to the other white one that's here. And that'll just help it stay in place. And again, I'm just kind of going just a little bit through the horizontal mesh here. Nothing crazy. It's just basically kind of just trying to tack it down so that it stays. And again, just doing a little flip on the back here. And we're going to stick that back through. Just like that. And again, you don't have to pull too tight. It's just to, just to kind of keep it from sagging down. So if you look, we kind of want it to do that. If you pull it too tight, it's going to bring that middle part up. Okay. And then you're going to do the same thing here and here. Okay. I won't bore you with that, but basically you're doing the same exact thing. You're tacking it here, or you could put a little bit of hot glue and tack it down that way. Okay. Whichever, your preference is. Like I said, I can show you the hot glue. Just put a little hot glue there and just stick it just like that. We'll do hot glue on this one. I'm just going to do just like that. Okay, so that's your bottom part. There's all your little, looking like a Santa suit, right guys? And then we're going to do the same thing pretty much up top here. All right. I'm going to come up top. I'm going to take my clips off, my bling rope. And then actually I'm going to take this one out because I want to do the same exact thing. So basically we're going to go do the same exact thing here. I'm going to put our little hole in here. And there's the tie in. Like I said, this for me is probably the hardest part for me, was doing this part and just getting the holes in. I think I just need something a little bit sharper. And then you're coming back up those two center holes. Okay, and we're going to come right back up through this again. It's got to be like an awl or something. I'm sure my husband has something in his toolbox that's better than this. There we go. All right, so we're going down, we're going up, and we're going to go right through that hole we just made. And again, the zip tie is fine being on this part because it's, like I said, it's, oh, Hold on. I went through the wrong one. Sorry, guys. It's not the very top one. It's where this white was. So where your last one is that you did that white horizontal, that's actually where we're putting our, oh no, did I lose it? Now I lost the holes, guys. Oh, there's one. It's like, oh no. I think that's why I did that, because I wanted it to kind of flow down a little bit. There we go. Oh my gosh, this hates me today. I'm just going to put 2 new holes here. It's not liking me. And all, okay, yeah, I'll definitely look into that because this is not working so well. I'm sure my husband has an awl in his toolbox. We just won't tell him that it's missing, that's all. It definitely needs something like with a bigger point to it. Sorry, this is a little boring here at the moment, guys, I know. All right, I think I might be able to get that through now. Okay, so that horizontal white is the one we're just kind of going back over that. And then we're going to bring this up through. Come on. All right. I'm definitely going to have to get an awl. All right. Finally. All right. Here's another part. It's all caught up in the it's all caught up in the fur now. All right, there we go. There we go. Yay. So we're going to pull that tight. Oh my gosh, that was like a project. And then basically we're going to do the same type of thing where we can kind of just wrap this. We can bring it around like this to the back. And we're gluing this because I'm not doing that again. So basically we're just going to take our glue and our glue, and then we're going to glue that. And there we have it, guys. We have our Santa suit. So I know it seemed a little confusing. As I do them, I think I'll get better at teaching them because they're just so new to me too. But you have your integrated hanger. So all you have to do is hang it on the wall or on your door. And I will post, like I said, I'll post a template. The boards themselves, you can get on my website, www.craftycreations.com. And then I listed in the description, I listed the supplies that I use for the mesh, which most of my mesh I pretty much get from Lori from Unique in the Creek. If for some reason she doesn't have it or if she's out, I generally will look to Craft Outlet second. The fur here is just a mop pad from Dollar Tree. And then you just have your zip ties and one pipe cleaner. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will post the final picture of this on my page. I'm going to take a little bit of a break and get everything cleaned up here. And then around 3 o'clock, I'm going to go on and we're going to do the matching little Mrs. Claus apron to go with this. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope I'll see you guys all at 3 o'clock in a little bit. Thanks again for joining me.